Hello and welcome to a very special episode of the Sussex Sport Weekly Podcast. I'm Matt Poll and I'm joined by Brighton and Hove Albion writers Darren Howard and Frankie Elliott and a very special guest. This week we are delighted to welcome former Brighton hero and Worthing manager Adam Hinshelwood to the Sussex Sport Weekly Podcast. Adam made 100 professional appearances during a 7-year spell at the Seagulls between 2002 and 2009. He then went on to play for Aldershot Town and Wycombe Wanderers before retiring from the professional game in 2010. Adam then went into management, taking charge of Selzy in 2011, and then was then installed as Worthing manager in 2013 before returning to Brighton as a full-time coach in 2015. But Adam came back to the Reds in 2017 and led them to the Isthmian Premier Division title in 2021-22 and last season's Sussex Senior Cup. First and foremost, Adam, how are you and how are you getting on?
Yeah, all good, thanks. So just back off holiday and a bit of a rest, bit of time with the family, and ready to go again for pre-season. So yes, hectic time of the year, but yeah, glad to be back and looking forward to the season ahead.
Did you manage to think about pre-season at all while you were on holiday, or did you just pretend that didn't exist?
No, yeah, definitely. You have a week. I just put my phone away. Just spend the whole time with the family. I think there's enough time, like during the course of the season, where you're sort of there, but maybe not present with your family and that for long spells in the season where you're just constantly thinking about football and the next game. So I try when I go away and have time, pure and utterly family time. And it was good. But yeah, as soon as you get back, it's like you've never been away really. We had our first session on Tuesday and that went well, and it's good to see all the players again. And yeah, looking forward to a good pre-season and hopefully take that into the start of the season.
Well, we'll start with your playing career, Adam. You joined Brighton as a trainee before turning professional in 2002. You were then handed your full league debut by your uncle Martin in his first game in management at Burnley in August of the same year. And to put the cherry on the cake, Adam, not only did Albion run out 3-1 winners at Turf Moor, but you were also named man of the match. How proud are you of this moment, and what were you thinking when you were told you were going to be making your first full senior start?
No, yeah, obviously, sort of uncle pulled me into the office, and as I'm sort of going up, I bypassed sort of Danny Cullip, who looked a bit worse for wear, so he was actually ill. On the Friday, I called up into the office and got told I was going to start, and I don't know, I felt ready. I felt ready for that opportunity. I had a good pre-season, without sort of being big-headed or anything. I think with any player, you have a bit of inner confidence, and I was confident enough in my ability that, I was ready to start the game. So, yeah, it was a great game. Something that was very rare for us. We flew up to Manchester on the day, so, all of the whole experience was an unreal sort of experience, from leaving on the Friday, the training ground at Falmouth, to then, going to the hotel and playing in front of a big stadium and a big crowd at Burnley was, a really sort of fantastic couple of days.
You then became a mainstay of the Brighton team over the next couple of seasons. You eventually leading to a call up to the England under-21s in October 2004. I read that you were in consideration for the Toulon tournament in the summer of 2005 until a scan showed that you'd ruptured your ACL. How big of a blow was that? And what was the road to recovery like, having suffered that injury? Because you hear that an ACL is probably one of the worst injuries a sportsman can possibly have, Adam.
No, yeah, it was a tough moment. Like my son, Jack, he was just born on the Monday. I had operation on the Friday, and then, literally got back from that operation, and there's a letter waiting for me on my doorstep as I go in, and it's a letter from England to say I'm being considered for the Toulon tournament that summer. And it's a real sort of prestigious sort of tournament to play in, the Toulon tournament as an under-21 player. And there's obviously Brighton were in and around the Championship and League One at the time, and it's an opportunity to sort of showcase yourself to scouts from Premier League clubs and that, which was always the ambition and the dream of mine. It was tough. Not only are you dealing with a nasty injury and the rehab that goes with that, you're looking at 9 months out after an ACL operation. But yeah, the thought of them missing out on that tournament as well was a tough tough one to take, and really sort of tested my sort of character a little bit as a young player. But you just got to get on with it and just use it as a bit more of a incentive. Like anyone, when your first child's born, it gives you a bit of a motivation as well you want to do well for them and have a good career. It's not only yourself and your girlfriend at the time who went on to be my wife and stuff. It's not only you that you're thinking about now. You've got a little one in the house as well to think about as well. So it definitely give me a bit of added motivation, having my son born around that sort of time as well.
We returned from injury in 2006, the 2006-7 season, and I think you eventually captained Brighton to become one of the youngest captains in Albion's history. But then again, a second ACL operation was required. And how frustrating was that for you? Because it seemed that you finally got back into the swing of things, becoming a mainstay in the squad, just to have the repeat happen again to you.
Yeah, the second one was obviously really tough, quite quick succession, really. But yeah, obviously captaining the side at Molineux, was a real sort of, again, memorable sort of time, and again felt ready, and one of those sort of like leadership qualities that maybe the manager saw in me, and that was real sort of a big moment and give me a lot of confidence. And then to have know that you're going to be out for 9 to 12 months again. It was tough to take. There's no getting away from it. I'm not trying to. Unfortunately, when I look back on my career, it's a lot of times where you sort of maybe sort of negative thoughts, really, because you spent so much time out injured, and I think the mental side of that is maybe what a lot of people don't see. They obviously see a player and just assume that he's always out injured, and maybe label you with that sort of term, if you like, of being a player that's always out injured and injury prone. And it's tough mentally to take. And I was one that actually loved training, loved being out on working every day as a professional. That's all you dreamed of doing. And when that gets cut short for long periods, it is tough to take mentally. It was a tough period, but I think having these tough times only spurs you on to be better, and test your character, and you've got to come through it, and makes you a better character maybe later on. And when you learn from these sort of things, and maybe that's why I've gone into management, and I've got my opportunity maybe earlier than a lot of people would, because I retired at 26 and become a manager at 29. So I've got to look at it that things happen for a reason, and the reason was that I could get into management and coaching a little bit earlier, maybe.
This wasn't the list of questions, but I thought to ask, what was it like playing at the Withdean? I've heard some horror stories about Brighton's time there, Adam.
No, yeah, it was a little bit different. Let's just put it that way. It's mad. You almost look forward to a away game because you knew you get that big following, and I think there was back then you had a certain contingent of crowd that would only come to the away games, so you wouldn't come into Withdean, and you really felt that. You really, like I say, that making my debut away from home, the crowd that we took behind the goal at Burnley was incredible, and is a bit different. You probably heard more of the crowds at Withdean than you did in the big stadiums, because maybe that one person shouting on and giving you a bit of stick, you heard a little bit more, which maybe gets drowned out a bit when there's 25,000 there. So it was a tough place to play at, but it was our home, and I think at the time it was just nice to be back in Brighton. Obviously travelling to Gillingham like the fans did, and then coming back home was in and around the Brighton and Hove area, and I think that was the crucial part. And we managed to have some success still at Withdean, and my first 2 years, I think, as a youth team player, were both promotions. So it also, when you're used to winning games there as well, You can get that sort of vibe from the crowd as well, and I think that's what we got in those first couple of years.
Well, going back to your ACL injury, upon your return from rehab, you joined Lewis on loan. What memories do you have of your time at the Dripping Pan?
Obviously Kev Keane was in charge, and we had a few familiar faces, Danny Cullip and Michael Standing playing. So it was a good group. The one standout memory was probably travelling to Wrexham on the day. I think we left at like 5 a.m. or something. Not a luxury coach by this stage. I remember the curtains now, nice orange curtains from that coach journey. It was, but it got to a point where I was just happy. I just wanted to be playing football, and I wasn't too worried at what kind of level that was. I just wanted to be out there and showcasing myself again, and it was a relatively successful sort of period, really. I think we won 4 out of the 6 games I was there, got onto a good run. So, it's like I say, at that stage, I was just happy to be out there playing football.
After leaving Brighton in 2009, you moved to Aldershot before you joined Wycombe Wanderers, and you were captain at the Wanderers. I read in 2010, a doctor said age just 26, you couldn't play at any level again due to a knee injury you sustained during pre-season. What was going through your head when you heard that verdict from the doctors?
No, it was like any young sort of player, 26 years old, and even when I'm at Aldershot and Wycombe, I've still got those aspirations that I'm going to get back and play in the Premier League. That was still the aim. I mean, looking back on it now, my injury history, I probably should have been planning for my career after football then. But I think you're very sort of self-driven and single-minded. You don't look at the bigger picture, and to get that news was the real sort of it was tough to take. There's no getting away from it. I had three kids, not been married too long, and had to move out of our family home and move in with like the mother-in-law. So it was a real tough period to take. I think these sort of things that you go through in life and stuff, and just all sort of set you in stead for later on in life, and learning a lot from that period. It was, it did take a while to come over not being a professional footballer again.
Well, you mentioned your mother-in-law there, Adam. I also read that you had to travel from your home in Chelsea to work in Southampton, packing bags for customers over Christmas. What was life like for you back then, and how much did it spur you on to get back into football?
Yeah, it's tough. I think I was just taking whatever job become available, really. I was the gas man at the local holiday park in Selsey for a bit, and sort of wanted to obviously just do whatever it took. Me and my brother-in-law, we was travelling to Portsmouth. One of his friends was he just got made redundant. He had his A license, had a quite good career in football as well, Jamie Howe. So we was travelling to Portsmouth, kind of sell cleaning products, and then one day travelling back said, like, what are we doing? Like, we both got an opportunity to do something that we love doing. We went down to see Anthony Story at Eastbourne, and he had a soccer academy just started up and running, and we thought we could replicate something similar in West Sussex as All-Star Soccer, and we've done that, and it gave me a real sort of passion for coaching and improving players and improving young players, and I knew that's the road I wanted to go down.
You then returned to the game as manager of Sussex County League side Selsey in 2011. What do you remember from your time at Selsey, Adam, and in what way did it shape your managerial career?
Yeah, I was coaching, so I think I was doing a little bit of coaching at Brighton, just with the younger age groups on a part-time basis. I was obviously having a soccer school up and running with Jamie, and then doing the management stuff as well. So I went from little experience in coaching to doing quite a few hours a week, and Selsey was a great learning experience. 29 years old now. You're sort of, it didn't seem that long ago that you're one of a part of the playing squad, and now you're at the front there leading, and it's something I relished and really enjoyed doing. And we was relatively successful. I think we was 3rd or 4th in the county league, the Premier Division there, and I just felt, I think we had one training session where we had 8 players turn up, and that's the time where I knew that if I want to make this a career, I need to go somewhere that's got a bit more aspiration than that, really. Sort of resigned sort of as manager there, and was lucky enough quite quickly to get a job at Worthing.
Yeah, great. Thanks. It's great to hear you speak there, Adam, and really good to get your insight and how the good and the tough times have helped sort of shaped your from your playing career, has helped shape your managerial career, really. So it's interesting. Just looking at Brighton at the moment, obviously they've been on such a upward curve. Played some great football under Graham Potter, and now De Zerbi seems to have taken it to a new level, hasn't he? What have you made of his impact since he's arrived?
I thought it's like completely different club almost. The new training ground, the new stadium, and then I was lucky enough to be working with the under-18s when they got that promotion to the Premier League, and that was always the aim. Around the club, it was getting the club Premier League ready, and to see them go on and do so well. Obviously in the Premier League under Graham Potter, under Chris Hughton to start off with, who was a great guy, and then under Graham Potter, and then it just seems Roberto De Zerbi's just taken it on to a new level, and what a job he's done, and I just love the way he plays. Possession-based football, but real sort of attacking emphasis on it as well. So, I'm pretty sure that I'm similar to a lot of other people out there who enjoy football. You enjoy watching Brighton play, and when they're on the telly and when you can go and watch them play, you jump at the chance to do it, because it's a real exciting time for the club.
Yeah, they're a great watch at the moment, aren't they? They play quite a high-risk style, don't they? Especially for the defenders. It's being a former centre-back. How hard is it for the likes of sort of Lewis Dunk, Adam Webster, and how brave do they have to be to play that style of football?
Well, looking at Sky Sports News, Lewis Dunk probably gets the most touches in a game. Back in my day, it was maybe get the ball as far away as you can from the centre-backs and put it in the other opponent's half. But under Dean Wilkins, he was always, instructing us to play up from the back and stuff like that. So, probably a bit before his time in doing so. But, as a defender, I think it's tough. I think the toughest thing as a defender is that you spend so much time on the ball, and sometimes then you can neglect actually the fundamentals of what your job is, to keep the ball out of the net and defend and have that aggression. So to go from being nice and calm in possession of the ball, and then you've got you're the last line of defence, so you've got to have an element of aggression about you as well. I think is a tough transition to get into, but Lewis Dunk has proved to be one of the best centre backs at doing that, for numerous years now, and I'm just shocked, like every other Brighton fan, that he hasn't been involved in England squads a little bit more often than what he has. Yeah.
It's tough for him, wasn't it? He got the call up, and then he's been playing through injury, hasn't he, for the last part of the season? So it's tough. But I was at the Villa game on the last game of the season. A big moment for your son, Jack. He made his Brighton debut. What were your feelings at the time when you saw him coming on? Were you at the match? Or?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be there. So Saturday before the game, we was actually at the training ground. My younger son was in training, and Ian Buckman sort of come and said to me, "Do you fancy going round to watch the first team train?" So I was lucky enough to go round and watch a bit of training, and I went to school with Andrew Crofts. He introduced me to the manager, and he said, you're Jack's dad, and really like him as a player. I want to try and give him his debut tomorrow.
Deserby said that.
Deserby said that, yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously Ian Buckman was behind me and heard that, and he then managed to speak to all the powers be at Brighton, try and get some tickets. So it was lucky that 7 of us went up to watch the game, and was there and got our Roberto De Zerbi t-shirts that they was handing out on the day. So they're still going strong around my house. But yeah, it was a real sort of special moment. But how the game went, it was like a European game, such a good atmosphere. Obviously, Villa were trying their utmost to win the game and get into Europe themselves. So it was a real high tempo game, good atmosphere. And you thought, fair enough, he's not going to bring him on in such a high intense game, but he stuck to his words. They made 4 changes. Then I see Danny Welbeck going to warm up, and thought it's not going to happen today. But yeah, just to see him get on for those last couple of minutes was a real sort of special moment, and one that we'll all sort of I'm sure he will remember throughout his time. And yeah, I think if anything's give him a little bit of
a taster.
And I think as a young player, once you get that taster, you want to experience it a little bit more. So it's up to him now to work hard in the summer, and hopefully he gets an opportunity in pre-season.
Great. Yeah, that's 4 generations now, isn't it, of Hinshellwoods who have played professionally for English clubs. That's I think that's the first ever in history, isn't it, in the British game?
Yeah, I think so. I wasn't aware of it making that little bit of history, but yeah, someone sort of said it a couple of days after, and see a tweet come out and stuff about it, and yeah, it's obviously really sort of nice thing to have. My granddad and my dad, unfortunately, not with us no more, but they was, granddad in particular was always, he always had this saying like about, there used to be a book, I think, every time he made a league appearance, and every time one of the family made an appearance, it was he's in the book now. So yeah, it's obviously really sort of proud moment for the family, and something you don't really take in, but what an achievement that everyone's sort of been able to generate there.
Brilliant. And you say you had another son in the youth ranks of Brighton as well?
Yeah, so Jack obviously signed at under-9s, and then we got our youngest Teddy's just signed for the under-9s as well. So we can't get away from the place at the moment. There's worse places you can go to, though, than
for sure. Yeah, it's a good club to do it. Yeah. And just finally from me, how do you think Brighton are going to cope next season? It's going to be a challenge, isn't it? They've got the Europa League football. They've lost McAllister. Moises Caicedo potentially could leave as well. How are they going to cope with that next term, do you think?
No, yes, obviously they're going to need a sort of a big squad, aren't they? I think you look at teams that have done it previously, the likes of Burnley and West Ham, has had a bit of effect and affected their Premier League season a little bit. So I'm sure there'll be, Brighton as a club, from top to bottom, just seem one step ahead in everything they do, and I'm sure they would have looked at that themselves and have a plan in place to be able to cope with it. But I'm really excited to see how their football stands up in Europe, and I think it's a great challenge for them. Europa League, when you think about how quickly the clubs come from, playing in League One at the Wigday into now potentially, 30-odd thousand going to be there on a European night. It's incredible, and just delighted for everyone involved, just how well they've done. And like I say, I think they'll be really quietly confident that they can, still compete at the top ends of the Premier League, but also, they'll be keen to show what they can do in Europe as well.
Adam, you spoke about the pride for your son making his first team debut in the Aston Villa game. Looking ahead to next season, what are his ambitions?
I think he's in little bit later because he went straight from sort of training with the first team and being involved in that Villa game, and then I think there was about a week's break, and then he went away with the under-18s at England. So he hasn't really stopped. So he's enjoying a bit of time off at the moment. He was lucky enough he come and joined us for a bit of a family holiday, and then he's just gone out with his girlfriend's parents to have a little bit of a break. But then he's as of next week, he wants to go in and start showcasing himself and get himself as fit and as ready as he can be. And hopefully he gets an opportunity. I think the first thing is to try and get on the tour to USA and then try and get some minutes and showcase what he can do. And I think he wants to. He's fully focused on, a lot of young lads maybe, want to go out on loan. I think he wants to try and showcase what he can do at Brighton. And I think, like, with being in the Europa League and stuff, they're going to need a bigger squad. So it could be worked out well that this is his sort of breakthrough sort of season in a time when they need a big squad. But he was an under-18 player, played a lot of games in the Premier League too last year and coped quite well, I thought, and done relatively well. Good amount of goals and assists for an under-18 playing at that kind of level. I think his next sort of challenge would be to get some first team minutes somewhere, whether that's at Brighton but I think the initial thing is to try and see how it goes at Brighton, and then if, like, around sort of Christmas time, January time, that he's not playing much football, then maybe look to get a loan or something then. But yeah, he's really focused on trying to showcase himself and what he can do, and the manager seems to have shown a bit of faith in him and likes how he plays, which is always a big factor in a young player's development, to have that belief from your manager. And he wants to really sort of showcase what you can do this pre-season.
Taking you back to sort of more local football and Worthing specifically, obviously they had an excellent season last season, reaching the National League playoff semi-finals and lifting the Sussex Senior Cup. Obviously there was heartbreak in those playoffs, but how proud are you of the campaign in general?
No, yeah, I think looking back, having a bit of time away and proper focusing and reflecting on how the season went, I think, we've got to be really pleased with how it went. We started the season relatively well. I think it was like first 10 games we was unbeaten. We had a lot of draws in that time. We used the loan system well. I think we recruited quite well at the right time, and just a bit of bad luck, and unfortunately with one or two injuries maybe in the playoff race. We lost some key players when maybe we could have done with them in the playoff games. But yeah, I think if anyone at the start of last season would have said you're going to lift the Sussex Senior Cup and you're going to finish fourth and get to the playoff semi-final, we'd have definitely took that. So, yeah, we've got to be pleased. All I've tried to do since I've gone in there is each season improve on our sort of league position and how we perform. And, we've been lucky enough to do that. So it's going to be a real tough ask this season to improve on fourth place. You've got some really big clubs that will have ambition to get in the Football League at our level next year. So, we've got to really sort of focus and work hard this pre-season and make sure we hit the ground running from when the season starts in August.
Did you envision having such a good first campaign at National League level?
Not really. I think we had so many players to start last season that were maybe untested, and myself sort of untested, and a lot of question marks over how we're going to cope with that step up. And I always had belief in how we work and also belief in the squad we had, the players we had. There was a nucleus of players there that I thought would be able to cope with the level that we're going into, but you sort of never know how that's going to go. Obviously you had sort of Weymouth and Dover that come down that were full-time, so you didn't know how they was going to get on. Absolutely full-time and real good budget. It was there was obviously the 2 Street games, real tough games, and tough moments throughout the season. But quietly confident in how we worked and the professionalism that we work with at the club. That we would do okay and be competitive.
You've had a busy off-season already. You've brought in 4 new faces ahead of the new campaign. What do you hope these new boys will bring? And is there any more players coming through the door that we should be looking forward to?
Yeah, I think there's a couple more. I think we're going to have 6 or 7 new faces. And I just felt we'd stuck with the nucleus, like I say, of the squad. And I just felt this season was the right time to sort of try and change it and add a bit more quality and add a bit more know-how of the league. I think, like I say, last season we went into the league and we went with some players that may be a bit untried and untested, and some of those worked out and some of them didn't. But yeah, this year I think we've recruited players that we know are, and that it's our belief that they're good enough for this kind of level, and will add to what we've got. And the thing that I'm more pleased about is there's some really good characters in there, and I think that's something that we've always sort of based our changing room around, having a good team spirit and setting good standards. And I think these players will add to that.
You've kept the core of the group together. A lot of them have signed and committed their deals to the club. You've also added new faces. On the back of such a good season, what is the aim this season? To match what you did last year, to try and sort of be in that sort of area, to go one better? What is the aim?
Yeah, I think like I said before, I think my aim is always to try and improve each season. For us to try and improve on 4th this year with the calibre of teams that we've got coming down, Torquay, Yeovil, Maidstone, they'll all have aspirations to get in the Football League. Eastbourne Borough got new investment and a very good manager in Mark Beard and going full time. Daddy Blaw's now gone to Welling, really good manager for the level, and his recruitment's second to none. So and that's without even taking in your like Dartfords and all the teams. Chelmsfords have recruited well and will be keen to sort of have a go. So yeah, I think we had to improve just to even try and compete at the same sort of level that we was at, because it's going to be each season you can't stand still. You got to keep on pushing, and I feel we've done that. I feel we've improved the squad this year. Like I say, a bit more know-how for the level, but the goal is to finish better than last year. But like I say, it's no given with these teams that are a lot more established than what we are. So yeah, I don't want to get carried away and get too cocky, assuming that Worthing's gonna, just because we had one good season last year, going to be up there competing with these teams. They're established teams and they've been doing it for a long time. So we know we've got to really work hard and be our best to even talk about competing with these teams.
You mentioned your Sussex rivals, Eastbourne Borough. Obviously, they've had a very eventful summer. They've got a new owner. They've moved to a full-time setup, 9 new signings. What have you made of all this, and do you relish that sort of competition?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think you've got to, fair play. They've got owners, and that's the way they want to go as a full-time model. And that's something that we've got to inspire to ourselves. Becoming full-time, working with players on a full-time basis is a sort of dream for myself as a manager. And I know it's the ambition of the club in future years. We'll probably do it at our own pace and do it when it's right for us. But what a challenge. It's going to be a great challenge. Not just Eastbourne Borough, there's a few other teams that are with that full-time model as well. So being a part-time sort of club, it's going to have its challenges against these teams. But what a challenge. That's what we want. We want to really test ourselves, and each game is going to be a test at this level. There's no question about it. We're very new to it. Although there seems to be some sort of thing out there that Worthing have a massive budget and stuff like that. That's not the case. We work within our means, and we're nowhere near what these other teams are paying their players, and for us to even compete is going to be a challenge. But like I say, it's one that we relish. We're looking forward to it. I feel we've earned the right to be in this league for how we've competed in the last few years at Ryman Premier, and now we're here. We want to give a good account of ourselves, and we'll be up for the challenge when August comes round.
So your pre-season campaign gets underway against Brighton under 21s next Friday week. How are you feeling about this pre-season, and are you looking forward to it?
No, yeah. Obviously, we sort of. I know Ian Buckman worked with him at Brighton. He's the academy manager, so we always try and get a fixture early on where both teams, both Brighton and ourselves, can field maybe two teams, play 45 minutes each, and it's a real tough opening game. But what a place to go and open the campaign at an unbelievable venue. The pitch is going to be, great surface for our players to go and play on. And yeah, it's looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the game starting, really. I love training. I love being out on the grass and, setting up a team to play a certain way. But, when the games come around, that's when you learn most about the team and about the players. So, yeah, I really can't wait for them to start, and, looking forward to the season coming around as well.
And your Worthing's performance last season, Eastbourne Borough's new owners, Brighton's success at the highest level. Sussex football seems to be in a great place right now, doesn't it?
No, it sure does, yeah. It was a sort of little in-house ambition that I set myself to sort of try and take Worthing to be the highest non-league club in Sussex, and we managed to do that last year by finishing above Eastbourne Borough. But now the goal and the challenge has got to be to try and establish that for a while, and it's going to be a tough ask. Like I say, with Eastbourne trying to improve and get better. So I think Sussex football's in a really good place. We've got a good academy at Worthing. There's an unbelievable academy at Brighton at the moment. So, there's going to be Sussex players that, fall by the wayside, where Brighton established themselves a little bit higher up the league. And we're hoping that all aspects of our club and, Sussex football in general, there'll be more and more, local Sussex boys being able to play in a Worthing shirt. And that's our goal. And, like I say, I think it's in a really good, healthy place, and having European football coming to Sussex as well is, something that hasn't happened, in a very long time, if ever. It seems like it's really heading in one way, and we want to be part of that as well at Worthing.
Amazing, thank you.
Two last questions from me, Adam. You've mentioned there about Jack potentially not getting the amount of playing time that he might necessarily want next season. Is part of you thinking that, maybe if Jack says he's not getting the amount of playing time, you whisper in his ear, do you fancy joining your old man down at Worthing? I
tried last season and got.
Oh, did you?
A very swift no. That's not happening. Yeah, I don't think there's any chance of that. He just wants to play, just loves playing the game and wants to be out there playing. And, it was a bit of not frustrating because you're in and around the first team, but he probably missed out on certain trips and certain games where he's in and around the first team squad that maybe he could have got games for the 21s. I think, he didn't go out to Hong Kong with the under 21s for the 7-a-side tournament they have there. I think the under 18s when they played Monaco, he didn't go on that one. He missed out on some games, but ultimately he's at the place where you want to be, and that's in and around the first team squad. So you can't have too many complaints, but yeah, he just wants to play. He loves being out there and competing So, yeah, there's an element of frustration when you're not playing week in, week out, and that's where, as a young player, you do your learning. But at the same time, he's got to be patient, and he's got real sort of mature head on his shoulders, and he knows what's needed. And if he's without game time for a few 4 weeks, it's part of his learning, his developing as well.
And finally, Adam, for me, is it kind of a dream, a family dream, to say you to be at the helm of Brighton and Albion with one of your boys as the skipper, maybe leading them to a trophy?
Yeah, obviously that'd be an unbelievable dream. Yeah, but I honestly, like, maybe when I was a bit younger, had those aspirations and wanted it to happen a little bit quicker. But now, like, really, sort of, my family's happy, settled in Worthing. Both my sons are, at a great club. My daughters do their cheerleading and dance and stuff as well. So all within Sussex. We're really settled here, and I just want to keep on improving as a manager. Whether that ever takes me on to be a manager in the Football League, even, let alone the Premier League and at Brighton, and who knows. But yeah, I just feel like I really want to make it a career, and want to keep on improving. There's so much more to learn and improve. And I go away on holiday, I spend time with the family, but I'm reading books and watching, and I just want to keep on developing as a manager and as a coach, and just see where that takes me. I've got no real aspirations. I hope both of my sons go and play in the Premier League and have unbelievable careers, and if I do as a manager, then great. But I much prefer to see them reach their dreams and play in the Premier League more than myself. If I stay Worthing manager for the next 10 years, and never get to the Football League or whatever, but they get to be footballers in the Premier League, then that would be more than enough for me.
Well, fingers crossed, Adam. Thank you very much for your time. You've been absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much for joining us, and best of luck for the season ahead. Thank you, Darren and Frankie, for joining us. You've been brilliant as well. Make sure you visit sussexworld.co.uk/sport for all the latest sports news and views, and we will see you all next week. And once again, thank you very much, Adam, for joining us.
No problem.